desperate for answers. A user claiming to be an ex-Uber driver responded, saying they'd heard of this before. Drivers called it the passenger, a thing that hitched rides, not with the driver, but with the rider. It didn't want your money or your life. It wanted your fear, your attention, your essence.
The user warned her, don't acknowledge it, don't say its name, don't look at it, because every glance feeds it. Sarah tried to ignore it, but one night she woke to find her bedroom freezing, her breath visible. The shadow was at her bedside, closer than ever. Its form almost human, but wrong, like a body stretched over a frame too small. She closed her eyes, reciting prayers she hadn't said since childhood, and when she opened them, it was gone. But her mirror was cracked, and her phone buzzed with a new message, seen. Now, let's shift to Jake's story in Chicago, because his encounter didn't end in that alley. Jake thought he'd escaped, but the hum followed him. At first it was subtle, a faint vibration in his apartment walls like a neighbor's stereo. But it grew louder, more insistent, especially at night. He'd wake to find his windows frosted over, even in the summer, the same swirling patterns he'd seen in the Prius. He tried to record the hum on his phone, but the files corrupted, replaced with static that sounded like whispers when played back. Jake's friends noticed a change in him. He was jumpy, always looking over his shoulder, convinced he was being followed. He'd see the silver Prius in parking lots, at stoplights, always too far to read the plates, but close enough to feel its presence. He stopped using Uber, but the messages started coming. Texts was floating above his bed. He hired a private investigator, thinking Elena was stalking him. The PI found no record of an Elena driving for Uber in Chicago, but he did find something else, a string of missing persons cases, all linked to rideshare apps, all in silver Priuses, all with no trace of the driver. The PI warned Jake to leave town, but before he could, his apartment was broken into. Nothing was stolen, but his mirrors were shattered and the walls were covered in frost. Jake moved to a new city, but last anyone heard, he was still getting those texts, and the hum was louder than ever. Maria's story, though, is the one that ties it all together. Because what followed her home wasn't just a shadow, it was a purpose. After that night in the desert, Maria's life unraveled. Her daughter Lily started drawing pictures of a tall man who watched her sleep. The drawings were crude, but the figure was unmistakable, too tall, too thin, its eyes just black scribbles. Maria burned the drawings, but they'd reappear in Lily's sketchbook, sometimes with new details, like hands reaching out. Maria's house became a nightmare. Doors would open on their own, always leading to the garage, where she'd find her car keys arranged in patterns, circles, spirals, symbols she didn't recognize. The humming was constant now, a low drone that seemed to come from the walls, the floor, even her own chest. She called a priest, who blessed the house, but he left shaken, saying he felt something ancient there. The blessing only made it worse. Objects started moving, cups sliding across tables, lights flickering in rhythms that matched the hum. Maria reached out to a local paranormal investigator who set up cameras in her home. The footage was chilling. Shadows moving in rooms where no one was, Lily's toys rearranging themselves, and in one frame, a figure standing over Maria as she slept. The investigator quit, refusing to return. Maria tried to move, but every time she packed, her belongings would be unpacked by morning, her clothes folded neatly, her keys back in the garage. She started researching, digging into local legends. She found stories of a desert entity, something the native tribes called the Watcher, a being that latched on to those who crossed its path, feeding on their fear, their isolation. It used modern tools, cars, phones, apps, to hunt in the modern world. Maria realized the messages she got, that single word, seen, weren't from a person. They were from it, marking her as its own. The three of them, Sarah, Jake, and Maria, never met, But their stories converged online, in forums where people share their nightmares. They found each other in a thread about rideshare horrors, each recognizing